Okay, even from vacation, I'm willing to bring you Scott Peterson videos because I know you've been waiting a very, very long time. And I brought my entire notebook on vacation with me because that's how pathetic I am. Forgive the bad lighting, forgive the appearance, and forgive the fact that I got a little sunburn today. I'm doing the best I can here, folks. So this series, and again, might go a couple of videos, but I want to talk about a couple of issues I have with how the police did this investigation. Last time I talked about all the different witnesses that weren't appropriately followed up with, and I have said in other videos, this series plus the Karen Reed series, even in the Young Thug, I've said, you know what? If they're good cops and they're doing good investigative work, I stay off their case. But the minute I start to see that they're not following leads, they're perhaps lying to get confessions, or they're doing bullshit things, I'm going to call bullshit. And that's what I have to do with the Scott Peterson case. So let's start just from the word jump. So the evening that Lacey was reported missing, the police were at the house within like 10, 12 minutes after the 911 call comes in. Scott allowed police to do 4 walkthroughs of his house that night without any sort of warrants. He just let them come in and do walkthroughs. The first couple of cops that arrive at Lacey and Scott's house, they did a quick walkthrough. They saw a couple of things that seemed to them fishy. One of them, and I talked about this in previous videos, one of the big things was they felt like it was too perfect. Like it almost looked like he'd spent the whole day cleaning up. So they were suspicious of that. Within 10 minutes, they called the homicide division and said, we need a homicide detective out here, because they honestly went immediately there. They didn't treat this as a real true missing persons case, or if they did, they felt like the husband, Scott, had something to do with the disappearance. So from the minute they said jump, everybody suspected Scott. This was the evening of the 24th. So when Scott had called Lacey's parents and said, Lacey's not home, is she with you guys? Scott also went to a couple of neighbors. But as the police come back to the house, as everyone starts gathering around the house, they're still going door to door in the neighborhood. And at one point, Scott is out going door to door. He goes door to door, but the detectives make him stop, and they're like, hey, we need you to take us to your warehouse. So whether that's important or not, I just feel like one of the defense arguments was, how can you say Scott wasn't concerned about his wife? He was the one that was going door to door to door asking neighbors if they'd seen her, and the police were like, no, we need you to take us to your warehouse so we can look for evidence against you. Now, Scott allowed the police to walk through his house and his warehouse just with no qualms whatsoever that first night. They took several laps through. They were even allowed to take multiple photos. But they felt there was something more that they were missing. Again, the scene was too cleaned up, and they weren't sure based on Scott's behavior. So some of the first arriving officers said he was terribly, terribly upset. They thought maybe it was a little bit fake. And then there was another time where he was too calm, and they thought that was a problem. They asked what he was fishing for. He had difficulty saying what he was fishing for, what type of bait he was using. So they felt he was suspicious from the get-go. When they went to a judge to get the first search warrant, they said it was a couple of things. One, it was Scott's behavior. Two, that there were multiple statements that he had made to others about golfing instead of fishing. They thought that maybe his alibi wasn't checking out. The house seemed too perfect, that it looked like there had been a cleanup of a crime scene. They found Lacey's items at the house, meaning her purse, her sunglasses, her car keys, her watch. So they felt like there was something that had happened in the house, or she was taken from the house. And so they suspected Scott. They had all seen the dirty rags that were on top of the washing machine. They all saw the mops in the mop bucket. So again, they thought this guy has probably done something with her, and he's used these things to clean up. So the first search warrant was really, we want to get in that house and see what we can pull out of there, because if something did happen in this house, a deeper search, when we come in with the luminol, when we come in with the special vacuum, when we come in with the special, investigators, they'll be able to tell if there was a cleanup job here or not. They had also thought Scott's conversation about the Martha Stewart meringue story, they thought that was a lie. And in fact, in an amazing feat of police work, Brocchini actually went to find out what day that meringue episode aired, and he felt like it had aired the day before, and was really surprised when Mark Garagos walked into court and was like, no, you dummy, here's the video, here it is. It played at the exact same time that Scott said it played. Like I said in earlier videos, they ended up taking over 100 bags of evidence out of the home to be looked at. One of the items, or a couple of the things that Brocchini noticed that night, was in the back of Scott's truck. He noticed the blue tarp and he noticed the boat cover. He felt like both of those things were probably used if Scott had removed Lacey from the home, that those were the items that were removed. When they came back with the search warrant, which was on December 26th and 27th, were the 2 days they searched the home and the warehouse, when they came back, they found those items crammed in a shed. So they thought, okay, yep, they were in his truck before, now they're in a shed. He must be hiding them from us. Fast forward to both the blue tarp and that boat cover both being tested by forensic scientists, and nothing being able to be found on either of them. No blood, no vomit, no hair, no sweat, no skin cells, no nothing. Both of them were absolutely 100% clean. There was no sign of Lacey on either. Now, I mentioned earlier the neighbor Karen Service, who changed her story. So originally she said that she had seen the dog outside at 10:30. She had put the dog in the gate. And then she came back on January 3rd. So it's been 9 full days since Lacey's been missing. She comes back on January 3rd and says, never mind, it was actually 10:18. Now, the police never ran down that lead. They just accepted 10:18 was the time frame, and 10:18 was a better time frame for what they were trying to do. The problem is, in those 9 days, the tip hotline had been set up on December 26th. So there was a ton of stuff coming in, all of those witness statements, all of those different tips. They didn't run down any of them. Now, I know they thought Scott had done it at that point. I get that. But they didn't run down any of those other leads, and then used Karen's Service as an excuse. Well, she set the time at 10:18. But then why the fuck weren't you running down anything when she originally told you it was 10:30? On January 2nd, the police went public with Scott's alibi. And this might be the very first time I've ever seen press conferences that announce, here's his alibi, here's where he says he was, here's a picture of the boat and the truck it was towing, here's the roads he would have taken if you saw Scott, basically saying, we're trying to corroborate his alibi, so if you saw him at any of these places, please come forward. But in doing so, they told the whole world what his alibi is. And this is just such backward-ass police work. You should keep the alibi secret, toss the public for information. And what's amazing is they went public. That press conference was shown all across the country over and over and over again, showing Scott's truck, showing Scott's boat, showing Scott's direction, the bay, everything. And although not one person came forward to say, oh yeah, I saw him, I can corroborate that alibi that he was there that day, there also wasn't any other person that ever saw him on any of the routes from the moment he left his house to the moment he returned. There isn't one single person, not one single traffic cam, not one single witness, not one single anything that picked him up that day. Not one. I'm coming back with more. I'm going to talk more about the burglary. Please come back for the next video.